And I'll let you know when we're live. Hopefully pretty quick here. Yeah, we're live.
Sweet. There we are.
Yeah. So you're up early, 9 o'clock.
I'm up late. I'm a third shifter, right? So I got off at 6:30.
Jeez.
And yeah, so this is my like midnight evening, something like that.
Ooh, yeah. I used to, when I was a resident, I had to go 3 months working nights. But couple times a week you'd have to work all day and then all night. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, doing that whole thing, man. I'm not looking forward to that. Because I guess, doing the nursing thing, eventually that's what I'm going to have to do is pull some all-nighter type stuff. But that'll be difficult.
Yeah. So what's new with you?
Nothing much. Got a piece of land and going to start building a cabin hopefully in the spring. Sweet. And yeah, so, and that's all my daughter talks about right now is the cabin. And she doesn't even know anything about the process of it, kind of like me. But we're going to try to figure it out together.
I know there's probably a bunch of YouTube videos on how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's they're asking how much land did you get?
It's like 4 or 5 acres. It's just, but it's adjoined to my parents' property. So, it's all in the family at least.
Oh, good.
I don't have to worry about the neighbors. I like them.
Oh, good. Yeah. So there's this program. I think the guy's name is Dale Prenicky or something like that.
The
guy, Alone in the Wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
That cabin is pretty sweet.
Yeah, he did that all with like hand tools that he like canoed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he intended on being there for like the winter or the summer or something and stayed there for like 35 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then every once in a while a supply plane had come.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty high stakes trying to go up there and do all of that alone. If you get an injury or get sick or something.
I think his cabin's still there. I think they left it standing. I think kind of like what's that McCandless?
Into the Wild.
Yeah, like his bus is still there as like a monument to his stupidity, and but at least the cabin has some. I mean, it's a little better circumstances, but that's cool.
This German guy that I stream a lot with, Mr. Mesmerize, says that you can't really buy land in Germany unless you're really rich or inherit some.
Wow. So what do they just like rent all the time?
I don't know. Maybe they've got, I bet you they have a lot of public land that you can enjoy without necessarily owning it.
Okay.
But I think land, probably what he means by that is like you can buy like 5 acres of land and do what you want with it.
Okay.
I guess that makes sense because Germany's been, pretty populated for, centuries.
Well, I was going to say they got a bad history of taking land, right?
Yeah, and then every once in a while it gets depopulated.
Yeah. Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, did you get any new blades for Christmas?
No, I haven't. I haven't bought any new stuff for a long time. Just been. The last thing I bought was that Benchmade Proper.
Oh yeah. Which one did you get? You got the Hawkbill, right?
Well, I got
the Warncliffe.
Yeah, Warncliffe. I got both. I got it in. It was right when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I got the G10 one and the Linden Micarta one. I
was actually listening
better.
I was listening to you and James talk about that. Right, I think I downloaded the podcast before I headed to Ireland, and I was listening to it on the way over there, and I was like, man, I just ordered one of those because it like popped up on my radar somehow. And you said you'd got yours in, and I'm like, damn it. I was like, mine should have been in before Ireland, and it didn't make it, and I didn't get it for like another 3 weeks after I got back. So whoever I got it from, he had them up on the site early, but he didn't get them out to people until way late.
Yeah. Uh, Kansi's saying they should go to Canada because there's lots of land up there. Well, and
Oh
like,
yeah, and you can do the homesteading, right?
yeah, well, and then, well, I'm not sure about that, but he also says that people are putting in greenhouses up north, which, geez, I wonder why.
Can't even imagine why.
Yeah.
That's
So so now in the United States, legal pot is what it's Colorado, Washington, California as of the first,
mhm.
Nevada. I know I'm probably missing some, but and then a lot of states have medical. Like I know Michigan has medical, but
Yeah.
they're still trying to work out like the laws like regulating that and stuff.
But now you guys can buy medical marijuana up there. Like, I mean, prescribed, obviously, not buy it, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay.
I
I
mean,
didn't know if you meant just grow it.
yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about it, um,
Yeah,
because I think they've purposefully kept the legalities of it pretty vague.
I believe
Uh,
that.
I know
Like a lot of
there's
states' knife laws.
yeah, and so they a couple townships nearby have passed laws that they're going to have a dispensary.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's probably going to amp things up quite a bit because I think Traverse City had one and then they raided it.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know much about it. I don't even know how to write a prescription for it so that it would be legal, honestly.
Oh, because that already killed my next question. Okay. Uh,
Right.
uh,
I mean,
man,
it'd be easy enough to look it up. I mean,
yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah, yeah.
something I could look up, and honestly, there have been a couple patients that like legit would benefit from it, and I recommended that they find somebody who writes for that. And apparently, that's
Yeah.
really easy because if you have an MD and a DEA license, and you hang a shingle that says "We'll write your medical marijuana prescription," you're going to make a shitload of money really
Yeah.
fast. You know.
Yeah. That's just going to like guarantee your business goes through the roof if you do that.
Yeah, the problem is like it's quasi. Um, I worry about the fact that it's federally illegal but state legal. So
Yeah.
um, last on Thursday, Sessions basically signaled. So the attorney general guy basically signaled that he's going to start busting people. And on Facebook, all these like rabid Republican types that I know that live in those states were like, "Don't you dare!" because like this my German friend says that that's the best thing you can do for a community because it takes the money out of it for the thugs and then it
Hmm.
puts a shit ton of taxes in. So I've got friends that live in Colorado that like the state has to give them back money, because they make so much money in taxes and they have a law that they can only have so much surplus. They just
Right.
have to start paying people, you
Okay.
know. And so,
Yeah. That's
a lot of
man. That's a
Republicans
heck
live in
of
states. Go ahead.
yeah. It's I mean it's I was gonna say it's a lucrative business. I'm sure, and it's got a lot of good uses for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need to line that out across the board before people start getting caught up in traps.
Yeah, that's kind of why I've been a little bit wary of it. Because I have a medical license and,
Hmm.
I have to be like super careful about everything because if, something like that where there's not really clearly defined laws, they can basically just make up whatever they want.
Well, I know I
Um,
remember like you were like at Ethan's and all. You were hesitant to give advice on video and things like that, and I know it was because of the medical license.
yeah, and that's the thing is like if I mean I can every time I put something up that's even
Hmm.
remotely related to that, what I'll do is I just put at the bottom of the screen, this is not medical advice. Don't do this.
Right.
Go ask a doctor.
Yeah.
And I guess it probably doesn't really even cover you, but you know, I just have to be really, really careful about stuff like that.
But at least you could say like you made an attempt,
Yeah.
or I mean, people say do not eat on those little silica packets. If you eat it, yeah, they could probably still sue you, but you put on there clearly, do not fucking eat it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
Oh,
wonder
hey,
what would
since
happen
this
if you
is
ate
on,
one of those. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. You're the doctor.
I don't know.
As
It'd
far as
dry out your bowels. I don't know.
somebody somewhere is going to try that has wet balls or something.
Jeez.
I don't know. So are we able with YouTube? Are we able to? What are we able to talk about? Say? Are we censored in any way? I mean,
No,
what's
not really. I mean,
okay?
yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you can say whatever you want,
Okay.
and we can talk about whatever we want. Um,
Okay.
that's how I've done it. Just like
Okay. Well, I was just
a
curious because I know
conversation.
YouTube's not as well. I didn't figure it was at least as liberal as our podcasting and all.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that it depends if somebody flags your video, and there really is a violation in there, then you can get in trouble.
Okay.
But or you can have your video demonetized if there's something in the title. So if you look back on my channel, a couple of months ago, they demonetized some of my videos because they had the word knife in the title. And at the time, they were getting like 10,000 views a week. And so I appealed them, and they immediately made it better,
Okay.
and fixed it. But then I had this, but there's a cutoff for you to be able to appeal it. So unless it's getting like a certain number of thousands of views in so many days, they won't even look at your appeal. So I had a video on harvesting cantaloupes, right?
I've seen that one. Yeah.
And they demonetized it, and I have no idea why. And so I made another video about YouTube demonetizes video about cantaloupes, and that one immediately got demonetized. So I think they're just doing like words in the title.
Yeah.
Words in the title end up doing it.
Well, I think our friend Captain Erica had the same problem. She did something about a giveaway, a knife giveaway or something, or a sheath giveaway, I believe, for a knife. And maybe that's what it was. It was in the title, so that's what triggered it.
Yeah, it's that's how it goes. I've had pretty good luck with YouTube. They more or less leave me alone. The thing I notice is that every once in a while, and it seems like it's at random, but every once in a while, one of your videos will get put into some featured page on YouTube, and you'll get like a butt ton of views, like all at once, like, and then because it's on some page, you get a bunch of trolls coming in and stuff, which is, I don't care, whatever, I just ignore it. But that happened right about the time I put that video up about the artillery shell knife.
Oh, yeah.
And so that thing got crazy views all at once, and then all these.
Was that for your German friend?
Yeah, he's watching.
Okay.
I'm actually having difficulty shipping that to him.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, because, but we'll get it figured out somehow. I'll figure out how to get it there. But anyway, the funny thing about that video is all these guys like wrote on there like, oh, you've got like spaghetti limbs and celery stalk arms. It's like, okay, well, they get the job done.
Yeah, but still bigger arms than the guys that they're making those shirts for you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, well, and then I got I was on a stream with Balzano, who's pretty controversial. And
I got to watch part of that. Why?
Well, I will let people draw their own conclusions. And do their own research. But like, if you look at that stream, if you want to see somebody who's like legit spaghetti arms, look at that dude, and then look at me. I have like what most people would describe as an athletic build. I have plenty of muscle to do whatever I need to do, but I'm not like some spaghetti limb dude. So I always got a kick out of that.
And you're right though, man. Anytime you put yourself out there, people are going to pick on it. And I don't know if it's like if it's some kind of problem they have with themselves, or if it's just, it's in the context, or if it's just the way the camera makes you look. For whatever reason, people just like to sit and troll and pick you apart on the internet.
Yeah, and I don't care. I mean, a lot of times, there have been times where I will go and look at their post history, and they just do it to everybody. Mm-hmm. These are like miserable people that,
oh yeah,
like for whatever reason they're pissed off at the world, and they get a kick out of just, you know, bothering people on the internet, and, you know, whatever. Maybe at some point in my life, maybe I did it too. I don't remember, but
one of the guys I listen to regularly on podcast, he was talking about how, you know, he's got millions of subscribers. And he said, you know, when you throw yourself out there and you're a stand-up comedian and you do all this kind of stuff that he does, he said, you get a lot of people try to pick you apart on the internet. He said, what he's always found, he said, like 99% of the time, if you go back to that person's profile, it's either a locked account where you can't see it, it's private, or if you go on Twitter, it's that stupid little egg icon. They don't actually have a thing. Like they're trying to hide something and snipe from the shadows.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So someone asks, you guys still as much into BK&T as you used to be? And I think, are they talking about Becker Knife and Tool? And my answer is absolutely yes.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Were you lucky enough to get the, let me see if I can find it. It was the thing where you had to direct order it right from K-Bar's website.
Oh, you know I did.
And it came with the BK4.
Yeah, that was the BK20 then. Yeah, the BK20, the BK4, and BK5. Yeah. Yeah, I was at Ethan's and ordered 2 of them actually.
Yeah, I was at his place and ordered right from using his Wi-Fi.
We were there together then. It was that weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I ordered right from his Wi-Fi.
I did too. Did you get on, as far as that goes, did you get on the BK20, was it BK29? The newest one that they did, the Moses Bowie?
No, I didn't. I saw it, and for whatever reason, I just didn't do it. But I did like the way that one looked.
Yeah, if you remember right, that was a little more towards his original profile that he designed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up getting 2 of those, I think, as well. And those came with a, you know, that Snowdy, the designer.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of his snake charmers is what it was called. It's kind of a small neck knife, bird and trout looking style. And then I think it came with a maybe another BK5 or something. I can't remember what else it came with. But I bought 2 of those. So I've still, you know, and Beckers aren't safe queens, but I've got 2. I got a 20 and a 29 still in the box that I've not even opened, like sealed up from the factory. And then I've got some that I use. And, you know, eventually they'll all get used. I'm not, like I said, they're not safe queens, but for now I do have them in a box.
Yeah, I'm keeping mine too, the 20, because, you know, 20 years from now, still new in box, you're talking, they made what, 200 of them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that'll be a valuable commodity.
I think of those, I think they made like 420 or 450 or something like Pot that. Talk got me talking 420, but yeah, I think it was 450 maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, get this. You'll get a kick out of this. So while I'm looking for a place to do my Wi-Fi this morning, I thought I had a place to go because, you know, I live out in the sticks, so I don't have Wi-Fi. And it's somehow I'd have cell signal all the time. Well, I go to get Wi-Fi at the local college that I actually go to. And of course they're closed on Saturday, especially at 7 in the morning, because what college students out of bed at 7 in the damn morning? So they're totally shut down. So I can't even get there to use their Wi-Fi. And I thought, man, I could go to Starbucks, but given knowing you and knowing me and the way we're going to talk about certain things, I don't want to be in Starbucks.
Yeah, you're gonna
having certain conversations and having all those yuppies look at me funny.
Yeah. So, well, that's the thing is what we've talked about so far is pretty mild.
Yeah.
And, and it would still trigger a lot of people in Starbucks.
Oh, definitely.
So my German friend says, by the way, Kyle, regarding German knife laws and shipping, the Afghan guy here who killed his ex-girlfriend used a 10-inch blade. So much for laws to make society safe. Yeah. So
well, they're under a different set of laws, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. They have the
The Sharia.
cultural enrichment laws
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
providing cultural enrichment. You know a guy named Dream Killer? It says, "Morning, Murph. It's me, Dream Killer."
I forget. We got one of my buddies. Did you see my cutting board that I got for my mom for Christmas? I
Uh-uh.
posted it on Instagram. Okay. Well, I posted it on Instagram, and he's actually, I work with him. He Eric is his name, but he makes cutting boards on the side,
Oh, cool.
and it's a beautiful cutting board. You ought to go check it out. But he does that just as a side job. And the other day we were talking about a hike we were going to do in Colorado, and then I posted another one that was supposed to be close by, and he's like, "Yeah, that's great, but that's like 2.5 hours away from where we normally hike at." And I said, "Well, way to go, thanks, Dream Killer." And
Yeah.
I said, and he said, "Yeah," he said, "You got a pet name for me?" And I said, "Well, don't flatter yourself. It's actually a recycled name I used to use for my ex-wife."
Oh
And
boy.
so we were just kidding about it, but yeah, so that's who that is.
Hey, guy, if you have a website or something where you sell these, post it in the chat there, and I'll put it up on screen for a little bit.
I'm trying to think. If on Instagram he's Kabong.
Yeah, it's Kabong 1978.
Yeah, 1978. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's got a website. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he'll put it up if he sees it. So
I would show a picture of it now, but to go down to the kitchen and get the cutting board would be a little difficult to hold up.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an awesome cutting board. It's a hell of a piece.
Subtle Serpent Survival says, "Morning, gentlemen."
Awesome.
Oh,
you know who that is.
Who's that?
Yeah. That's Kermit.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome, dude. Yeah, his whole family's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad to see he's on here. So do you get a lot of traffic on these?
Usually it depends on the time of day, depends on who's coming on, depends on what I'm doing. Usually between 10 and 20 people is usually the peak.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually not thousands, not yet anyway.
Yeah. Well, I guess I got to set your notifications up because I don't even know when you do it most of the time until after it's already done. Like I watched the one with Balzano last night, about 30 minutes of it, I think. And I had to get doing something else at work, so I missed out on the rest of it.
Yeah, that one got a lot of dislikes, and I know why. Anyway, I'll tell you about that in a second. But
okay.
This guy, say hi from Galileo Surdo Shark on Blade Forums /GVB from Insta as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Used to be
Yeah.
more active on Blade Forums, but life happens, and the Becker sub isn't super active anime. Yeah.
I'm glad to see him back around then, because he's right. The forums have lost a lot of traffic.
Well, yeah. I mean, my issue with I just don't check forums much anymore. Like I don't know what it is, but my habits have changed enough, and I know I should check it, but I just haven't been. It just slips my mind for whatever reason.
Well, you know how easy it is, especially with a smartphone, to check Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff with an app. And forums, unfortunately, just don't have that ease of navigation. Reddit is sort of a forum, and they've kind of mastered a way to make it easier to read. But Blade Forums, for whatever reason, has not. Yeah.
Well, and it's just, I don't know. Like the issue that I have with forums is that, people can just be absolute dicks on there, and there's really no way to avoid it. And it's how much of my time do I want to spend doing that? I'm not being paid to go on there. And me giving them content, is essentially giving it to them for free.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, do I want to do this or not?
You're exactly right. Sadly, though, I mean, that's where the Becker knife and tool thing really flourished. Ethan got a lot of traffic over there, and a lot of that was in no small part, due to Moose and some of the other moderators and some of the old guard that was over there. And that's not to say anybody over there anymore is not any good. It's just that's kind of the heyday of it.
Did they? I was there when that was all going on. Are those guys still over there, like Derek and?
Derek is a lot more active on there, probably than most of them. I think Bladeite's still pretty active. Guyon he's hanging out more with the SE crowd. I mean, he hadn't traded hats, but he's over there doing a lot of their climbing stuff, and he's fairly close to those guys as far as location, I think.
Yeah, because he's from Alabama or something, isn't he?
I think I want to say he lives somewhere around Nashville, Tennessee, but it's nothing for him to drive down there, I don't believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else used to be on there. Tradewater.
Yeah, Tradewater's still around. I don't know that he posts much there. I still talk to him here and there just by text, or actually I asked him a question about an axe the other day, but he's still fairly active, and they're all on Facebook. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's where I interact with them, is on there.
Yeah, exactly, because it's easier.
Yeah, like every day or so, you see something from them or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, what else is up?
Hey, I got a kitchen blade, and you know me, I don't really do much work in the kitchen, but with the thought of building a new cabin, for some reason, and maybe you can explain this to me. Well, you were more of a culinary guy anyway than I ever was, but the idea of building a cabin, I am most excited about my man cave type area, which is going to be kind of a gear queer hangout area / office, and my kitchen. And I don't know why, because I don't do anything in the kitchen that would warrant me being excited about it. I could burn a bowl of cereal. I'm that bad as a cook.
Well,
but
you can start learning that.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh, cool.
I got a small Santoku. I don't know how well you can see it. It's got some file work on it. It's a coffee sack burlap, I suppose it is. That might actually help if I shine a little light on that. But our friend Kyle Daly made that.
That's cool.
Yeah, he did that. So I got that. I actually ordered it back before Christmas and got it right before Christmas. His dad was my 7th grade shop teacher. Oh, cool. And I had no idea of that until we met one day in Todd's shop. And I think he had to tell me about 10 times because I was drinking before I finally got it, what he was saying. But he's doing awesome work up there in Chicago too.
Yeah.
Near Chicago, I guess.
Yeah, I think he was one of the first people that we did this Great Lakes Island bug out thing with the podcast, and he was there. It was fun. But yeah, it was. We're supposedly going to be doing a winter thing in the next couple months at this place called French Lake.
I heard you guys talking about that.
Yeah, I have to get my shit together and give them some dates when I can go. I just Go ahead.
Are you guys planning on doing another one of those Great Lakes Island bug outs?
Probably. I mean, it just depends. Yeah. The difficulty is getting everybody's schedules to align.
Right.
And then the other thing is now that I live in the woods, my motivation to
go to the woods
is like, because I can just go out in my back door and do everything I used to have to travel and camp and do. So
we joke about that with your you talk about the bushcraft role players, the LARPers. And yeah, and it's funny because you always say, well, they just go out in their backyard. Well, my backyard is the woods, so when I go out there, I'm out there.
Yeah, well, that's what I. It's more fun to needle those guys, and that's all I'm doing, because I screw around and play with knives and do all of that stuff too. But I just like to needle them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, we're all guilty of the take a knife to the stump shot. Yeah, I do it all the time. My problem is, and you might understand this. Well, you do a little more video than I do as well. My problem is I don't have anybody, and I'm not the kind of person to go ask somebody to take a picture of me doing something. So I'll just do it and then take a picture of the finished product. And then that's what you see is the finished product and the knife on a stump or something instead of me doing it.
Yeah. That's that's interesting. Knife on a stump shot. I do that all the time.
I can't help. Have you seen the newest? Well, I don't want to say it's the newest thing because apparently it's been a thing and people are copying it now. The whole knife in the hand type thing with your work boots and the background there and all kind of stuff. It's an Instagram thing, and somebody made a post about it the other day about people copying this style, and I'm like, all you're doing is taking a picture of your knife in your hand, and the shit in the background is the shit in the background. That's not a style.
Yeah,
that's just a shot.
Yeah,
so, I don't know.
The one that I always like is they're clearly in a car and it's on their leg.
Yeah. Do you do the Snapchat thing at all?
I haven't. I did for a while, but then I don't know. Nobody else. This was like years ago, right when it was brand new, and like nobody was on it. So I just kind of lost interest in it. But,
well, I know one of the popular things on there is like people driving, Snapchatting their damn radio, their CD player with music playing that nobody cares about except for them. And that's always, and I'm like, why the hell is that popular? It's in the dark and all you're seeing is your lit up stereo with music. I don't know. I don't understand that at all.
Subtle Serpent Survival says very few knife on stump with reptiles.
Yeah. Yeah. He's those copperheads, man. You want a copperhead wrangler, you go down there and he'll hook you up. He does some really killer shots, and he's got his boy doing a lot of cool stuff too.
Cool.
Oh, hey, recognize this?
Oh yeah, that's the yeah. Those are What'd you get? Number
the Raider
10?
Boy, yeah.
Yeah. I have mine, which was the prototype, and then I have one that is supposed to go to my friend, but he has to come get it.
Jesus.
Yeah, but then I made let's see, I made this one, which was kind of a version of it. Let me see if I can.
Oh yeah,
get it out here. With
it's
the
got
handle,
the guard on it, yeah.
Yeah, with a guard and a handle, and then I did the choil area a little different.
Okay.
This is, and then I did a plungeless swedge, if you can see that. On the top there. So that's the one I use the most for me. And it's also, if I remember right, I did this out of CPM. Oh, and a mitered tang.
Oh, cool. Really nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's got really nice balance, and then the other difference is that it's a full height flat grind with the convex edge. So
oh wow,
that's the one I probably use the most.
Have you done a lot of research on those?
What's that?
The Raider Bowies?
As well, I have an original that I used as the pattern for yours and for that first series of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I have an original, and that's really most of the research that I did. I know they made butt tons of those. I mean,
yeah.
Like it was just a knife that they happened to have that they just issued to the Marine Raiders, is what I understand, right?
From what I understand, it was a holdover from, I guess, the Army Air Corps, their survival blades, or their survival machetes, I think they called them, but it was basically, they just repurposed them for the Marines.
Yeah. And they apparently loved them.
Yeah, well, that's a whole thing. And now with the Raiders being back in vogue, in the Marine Corps, I can't imagine that somebody hasn't talked about reissuing something like that.
Yeah. They should use my design.
Yeah, hey, put it out there. You need to go research the Macon Island raid in World War II. That's pretty interesting to read up on, and I don't know enough to sit here and give you a hip pocket class on it, but it's really a cool story. and I think they made a movie out of it too.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I think it was the first time the Marine Raiders were actually used during World War II, and it was like, in a way, it was a catastrophe, but it was the Marine Corps has a way of taking a catastrophe, learning from it, and coming back 10 times as hard.
Yeah, because they're open to criticizing what they're
big
doing
time
and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
That's how you develop. Is taking a hard look at stuff. Subtle Serpent Survival says, y'all stay warm, heading to basketball game. So
what's he talking about, staying warm? He's in Tennessee. All right, later, Kermit. Yeah. Those guys, I don't even know what the temperature is down there. Right, what's it up there?
Oh, it's this morning. It was -9.
Okay, so you're a little bit colder than us. We were -1 when I walked out.
Yeah, it's supposed to warm up tomorrow. I was gonna go skiing today, but I don't like to ski when it's that cold out. Just I don't enjoy it as much. But today I'll get a haircut. I'm getting a little mangy.
Well, I can't tell you got that Rasta beanie on.
Yeah, it's long hair. I mean, I've got like ridiculously long hair right now, and need to get it trimmed.
Yeah.
But tomorrow it's supposed to warm up, and I'll go skiing tomorrow.
Okay. Cool.
Eventually, I'm gonna get out to the shop and make you a knife. And I'm thinking of a 12-inch blade, Bowie.
Oh wow.
And I had some ideas, some things I was looking at that I kind of liked. I'm gonna show you a couple knives that I looked at and thought were kind of cool.
Okay.
I'll put them up in the stream here.
Okay. So, will I be able to see them?
Yeah, everybody will be able to. So I'm not making this, but there's a feature on this that I'm thinking about adding to the knife. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up in just a second here. Okay. Let me do it here. Share screen, application window, and I'll do present to everyone. So you see, that's a Spartan sword.
Is that a Zombie Tools or something?
No, it's just basically the basic shape of what they used, and I got it off of Halloween Express. It's not a real knife, but
sorry, Zombie Tools. Yeah.
Right. The original Spartan swords had this narrow area up here, and then a little bit more meat out here because they're really good for chopping.
Right, forward weight, yeah.
But then the other thing I like is this kind of thing at the top.
I can't see what you're. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that at the top there, not as clipped after that, so a straight line up to that.
So it kind of gives it like a harpoon type hump.
A little bit, but more subtle.
Okay,
than this. I was mainly kind of showing you what I was looking at as one of the features I'm thinking about doing, and then the other thing is
you just appeared.
Yeah, give me a second.
Well, no, it was funny because your background came up and there was nothing there, and then all of a sudden you popped up like a second later. It was just odd, like you just. Okay.
And so here's the other thing I'm kind of using as a source of inspiration, and I will put it up here for you. I haven't put anything down on paper yet.
Oh, hey, you've been reading my mail because that's something I've been looking at for a while.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that's kind of what I was thinking about doing with because I've got a lot of deer antler. And I've been doing that lately with the pommel out of deer antler, and then a brass guard. Although I can't figure out how to get that guard to bend the way I want it to, unless you just heat it up and bend it, and then I worry that I'm going to distort the slot and all that. You know what I'm saying?
That's, and I don't think I'm giving away any secrets, but that's what we do at the shop. Todd and I did that a few times, and I don't know that he's done it lately because I haven't been down there as much, but. That's what we were doing, is heating it up with a torch and then beating it down with a hammer after you put it in a vise.
Yeah, just that, and that's kind of what I was thinking of doing.
Yeah.
To get the right bends in there, but then that kind of a look of the handle and guard, and then obviously a
Okay.
Bowie, and then you see how there's that nice that choil area like that, and then the other thing that I like to, so imagine that knife with a similar guard with a similar choil, but add a little bit of an upsweep so that
Right.
you get a little bit of that Spartan spine on there.
Okay.
And then the other thing, if you look on your Raider Bowie, and I'll show you here, I'll put it down. But this is another thing that I like to put into my knives, and it'll come back on camera here in just a sec.
Okay.
But so notice how looking back at the guard here, notice how it sweeps down from here and sweeps downward so that the lowest point on the knife is here. So there's actually
the big belly,
an angle, pointing back up towards the guard. I find that makes chopping and slicing tasks very efficient, because if you chop down on something, even if you're chopping down on something absolutely flat, you're always going to be presenting an edge that is, how you chop is not slamming it straight down on something like this, but like this.
Right.
So that you're always presenting the edge at a bit of an angle.
Okay.
So that's why if you look at the Japanese killing sword, which they beheaded people with, that's why they made it curved, is because no matter what, wherever you're hitting, as you're bringing it through whatever material, the curve is always changing. So it's like you're slicing and sawing, but you don't have to. The blade does it automatically.
Okay.
So,
right.
So that's kind of another feature that I put into a lot of my knives, especially bigger knives, is that that principle of a changing interface or whatever. So.
Well, I am a fan of all those ideas. Are you planning on, if you can do the deer antler, are you going to do it slab and make it full tang, or are you going to do a tapered, like a rat tail tang, and fit it in, or how are you planning on doing that?
Well, usually for that, slab is not the way to go.
Right.
And basically what I'll do is so the guard that I have, I hate making my own guards, so I just buy a slotted brass guard most of the time.
Okay.
Because I just hate it. I have done it, but I hate doing it. So I have a slotted brass guard that's a 1/4 inch wide and 1 inch tall. So the way I do it is right up next to the blade, I make a 1/4 inch wide, 1 inch tall piece of steel, and then have the tang, thinner going back from that.
Okay.
And so,
all right.
But it'll be like a stick tang, but it'll be a sturdy stick tang. It won't be.
Well, right. Yeah.
And it's this kind of thing is more. I don't know. It's certainly going to be usable, but I don't know if I would necessarily take it out and try to chop down a tree with it. Because it's still, it's still going to have. And when I do one of those knives with a antler pommel, I drill a hole through that tang and through the pommel, and then secure it to it with a pin. So it's glued and pinned in place. Right. But because it's still an antler, it's not like, it's not. I mean, obviously deer fight with them, and they don't have a problem. But I wouldn't say that it's like this big bulletproof material that like is super
right. It's
strong.
not phenolic or anything.
Yeah, but it's not gonna come off, because it's secure unless it's broken off.
Well, like you said, if I'm handing it down, generations, I mean, I would hope that anybody below me and my family is going to have enough sense to use a knife properly and not abuse it.
Yeah. But anyway, it takes me a while to do a new knife, because I hem and haw about it. I draw, then I step away for a few days, and then eventually I'll get something that I like and I'm excited about doing, and then I'll go out and do it like in a flurry, but
Right.
until I'm at that point, I don't like to do it, because then I don't feel like I'm putting my best into it.
No, I got you. I totally understand that. That's not
Yeah.
a big deal. And like I said, I wasn't ever pushing you on it. I was like, hey, whatever. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
happy.
it's coming. But I'm
Okay,
thinking
cool.
about a 12-inch blade,
Yeah,
01 tool steel,
that's
big quarter-inch
that's
thick. Yeah,
that's a pretty substantial piece of steel.
yeah.
Um,
It'll
uh,
definitely be the biggest knife at the Becker thing, unless somebody brings a sword or something.
well, now don't challenge Todd because that'll give him ideas and he'll have his own designs coming up then.
Yeah,
Uh,
I haven't
you
talked to
tell
him
him you
for
got
a
a
while.
bigger knife. You ought to talk to him. He's out and around.
I tried
I seen
to.
you tagged him in that post.
Yeah, I don't know how into the live streaming thing he is, but a lot of I try to get a lot of people on, and
Hmm.
people are weirded out about being being on live streams for whatever, or even at all showing up on video on the internet. And the thing
I
is
do
like,
not have a problem with it.
yeah, me neither. I mean, it's like at some point, you know, uh, there's no protecting yourself. If you're going to get got, you're going to get got, and
Right.
and so,
Yeah.
but people get a little weirded out by it, and I certainly sympathize with that. But really, you wouldn't even have to show your video feed. It could just be your voice, And I
Yeah.
try to explain it to people, but some people just won't do it. I'm not saying he's like that, but and
Well, he
then
wouldn't have a
people.
problem because he was doing the Monday Night Live from the shop.
Yeah, I remember that. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully
so
we
I don't
can.
think he'd have a problem with it.
I'd like to get him on. Maybe he was too busy this weekend or something.
Well, a lot of his stuff is too. The phone he has now is, I mean, a complete piece of shit, and he'll tell you that. And unless he's got a new one in the last 2 weeks, his phone probably wouldn't be suitable for this. But he does have a laptop that could work.
Hmm. And then
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of that, with my laptop, I took my laptop to work so that I could take it directly after work to school, right? Like I was telling you.
Hmm.
So I stopped at Walmart this morning and bought about $100 worth of headphones and webcam equipment, thinking I would use that and then use it for an hour and then take it back to Walmart. And then come to find out I didn't even need it, so I don't need to spend the money. So it's still out there in the box in the Jeep.
Nice.
I'll take it back later tonight, probably.
Yeah. And then the other person I'm trying to get to come on is this guy from New Jersey, and he posted this picture on Instagram of a pork roll sandwich.
Ooh.
And basically, it's pork roll is it's basically bologna that they make in New Jersey.
Yeah, we've
And
had it at Ethan's.
really
Yeah.
awesome.
Damn. Okay, who's the guy?
Well, it's he goes by Scurvy on
Oh, okay.
Instagram. I don't know what his real name is, or maybe I know it and just don't want to say it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, he had this picture up, and I just went nuts about it. And I was asking him about it, and I'm going to try to make them. So I ordered some of this stuff from Amazon, the
Okay.
right, pork roll. And I know it's just bologna, but I want to prove it, because I make my own bologna and all of that.
Yeah.
And I've looked at like recipes where people have basically tried to duplicate the pork roll thing. They're basically just making bologna, and then you fry it and have an egg over it and on a
Yeah.
bun. But it hits all of my buttons. So
Have you see? I'm trying to think. His I can't. The guy I'm thinking of was named Salty on Blade Forums,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and he was up there in New Jersey, and he was his son also is on. He's on Instagram under Novak something. He's on my friends list. I don't know. It's Novak something,
Mhm.
and they're pretty active with the pork roll. They bring that stuff down there, which is a horrible soundbite. You shouldn't say horribly. You shouldn't say active with pork roll, but
Right.
they have pork roll that they bring quite often, and Ethan's pretty fond of it.
Yeah. Well, I get I don't know. I really like U.S. regional foods.
Yeah,
So like if I find out
like the
about,
Benton's bacon.
yeah, or stuff like, there's if I find out like in a certain place they make a sandwich that everybody's crazy about. So in Nashville, it's hot
Tennessee.
chicken.
Okay.
Yeah, Nashville. So
Hot chicken.
yeah. So and I made this. I did a bunch of research and made it. Basically, it's fried chicken and then after you fry it, you dip it in a sauce that's made from lard, cayenne pepper, and vinegar.
Oh,
So you dip it in there and then you eat it up.
that's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah. So and it's really good. And then for example, another U.S. regional food would be in New York. They make this thing called chopped cheese, which is basically
Okay.
you probably had sloppy joes being in
Yeah,
Indiana.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, right, it's basically a sloppy joe that they put cheese on, and
Oh, okay.
they say they invented it, and I'm like, no, 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 you didn't invent that, and I can prove it because the first commercial version of that was the Made Right, and that was in Marshalltown, Iowa. And
Okay.
they're like, yeah, but it didn't have cheese. So I found a menu from the original Made Right. It's Taylor's Made Right from when
Right.
they opened it, and it was like Made Right with cheese. I'm like, no, sorry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Well, and then, in anyone that grew up in kind of a farming state or area, the deal is like you're going to know somebody that's got cattle, or you'll have them
Right. Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And you when you butcher your cattle, you sell the best stuff. You're not going to keep the prime rib. You're not going to keep tenderloins. You're not going to keep this stuff. You sell all the stuff that's valuable, and then there's a whole lot of extra meat left. So what you
Right. There's
do
no
is
money in the stuff that farmers eat. Yeah.
right. And so what you do is you take all of that and grind it up. That's why there's so many goddamn casserole recipes that have hamburger in it.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah. Yeah.
everybody had tons and tons and tons of hamburger, and you have to have a bunch of different ways to prepare it, otherwise you'll get sick of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you familiar? Speaking of that, in regional foods, this is something new to me, but I've had it, I believe. It's called a burgoo.
Oh, it's a stew, right?
Yeah, right. Isn't it
Yeah.
basically just like a vegetable stew with hamburger?
Well, it depends. It depends on. So I've seen that in the southeast.
Okay.
So I think the first place I ever had that was in uh, Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
But I know there are different versions of it all over. But and then I had it again when I was in Kentucky, and every place where I've had it, they have like a different version. It's got like
Right. Their own version of it. Yeah.
smoked meat and stuff like that in there. It's basically a big thick stew, usually with some sort of a smoked meat.
Okay. So it's a thicker stew. All right.
Yeah, it depends. Again, it depends on like for regional styles of barbecue. Like in
Mhm.
Kansas City, you're going to get like the ketchup sweet sauce.
Right.
If you go to Texas, it's different. It's beef, and their sauce is very different from, and it's usually mesquite smoked, but it's almost always beef, and their sauce is not a Kansas City style sauce. It's
Right. And then you go to
thing.
like the Carolinas and you get that kind of tangy, what is it, vinegar based, I think?
Yeah. Yep. And,
Yeah.
Kentucky has its own version. And then, of course, all these places that have that will also have like a bottle of Kansas City sauce. But if I'm in a place that has their own regional style, I eat the regional style. Like when I'm in
Yeah.
Kansas City, I eat Kansas City style.
Yeah. Just to try it, definitely.
Yeah. But in Kentucky, the big barbecue there is mutton. And
Oh, really?
yeah, pro tip, if you are ever in Kentucky and you're running for office, so let's say you're trying to be president, if you go to Kentucky and you don't eat the mutton and act like you like it, you're not getting elected. Because it's a big deal. They're proud of that shit.
Well, see, I've never even heard of it, but I don't spend a lot. I told Todd this one time when I go to Tennessee. For the longest time, I did my damnedest to drive through Kentucky without stopping. And maybe it's just an Indiana thing, but I try to get through Kentucky without stopping in Kentucky. But honestly, in the last 2 years, I've gotten a better appreciation for Kentucky. I actually stop in there a lot.
Yeah, Louisville is really nice.
Yeah, and
I lived
we're
there
like
for
an
2
hour away
years.
from there.
Yeah, I lived there for 2 years, and Louisville is awesome. Like they got good
Yeah,
food. Regional food in Louisville, right? Is the hot
Yeah.
brown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've got one here actually.
Oh, cool. So it started at the Brown Hotel.
Okay.
And it's basically 2 slices of white bread,
Mhm.
and then you make a white sauce, like a white gravy, but usually with some sort of a white cheese in it. You pour that over the toasted bread, and then you put a slice of turkey, 2 strips of bacon, and a tomato, and you broil it briefly.
Okay.
Yeah,
See,
it's really
I've
good.
never had one with the tomato, but yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
and I didn't know that it was the Brown Hotel
yeah,
that originated. That's pretty cool because when I first read it, I was like, so it's basically like a turkey Manhattan,
yeah,
and they're like,
exactly.
no, but they tried to explain that it's not. And
Yeah,
man, I tell you what, I'm not a big tomato eater either, but when I was in Ireland, I became a fan of tomatoes. Strangely enough,
yeah.
um,
We got to talk about that trip. So but before we do that, so in
okay,
Iowa, we had the exact same thing, only there was no bacon or turkey on it. So in Iowa, in parts of Iowa, there's a thing called a beef commercial, and it's
okay,
2 slices of white bread with mashed potatoes, gravy, and some beef product on it. So you get it at like livestock shows,
okay,
like little livestock shows. They'll have like a ring where they'll bring
yeah.
like your beefs and whatever the hell out there, and then there'll be like a little counter, and you can go up to the
So it's like
counter
a
and get food.
stadium food for auctions.
Right. Yeah. So
That's
that's where
fucking
that's
awesome.
from. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome. I like that.
yeah, and that's pretty much everywhere you go. They'll have their own little regional food that's like worth looking into. So
I swear we do not have one. I've been told it's a
Indiana,
tenderloin, but we don't.
no, Iowa's pork tenderloin sandwich.
Yeah.
So it's breaded pork tenderloin. You pound it out, bread it, fry it, serve it on a
Mhm.
bun. For you guys, I'm trying to think. Um, I don't know of any.
Yeah. See, nobody cares about Indiana. Like you think that nobody cares about Iowa, but I'm telling you, Indiana is just like lost in the fray.
Yeah. Well, if you go, so there is one extremely famous person, more of a famous supervillain from Indiana, from Terre Haute.
You're gonna have to help me out on that one.
1994, blew up
Oh,
a.
was that McVeigh?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Was he
yeah.
from Terre Haute?
Yep. Terre Haute,
Oh,
Indiana.
I didn't know that. I knew they put him in there. Wasn't that where the death penalty was, or the death chamber, gas chamber, whatever the hell they did, lethal injection?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about it, but and I could be wrong, but I've always thought that he came from Terre Haute. So maybe I heard it wrong or whatever, but
Oh, I hope
I'm
not.
sure he's from Indiana.
I know we got some bad people here, but I hope we don't have somebody like that.
Well,
Well, now anyway.
well in Indianapolis, you
Hmm.
guys have Gen Con, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah. You've
And
been to that
then
a couple times, right?
yep, I don't know how much more I'm going to go though, because it's a little crazy and a little expensive.
Is it?
Yeah, but the other thing is there's all kinds of good restaurants in Indianapolis, and
Yes.
I ate at a
Yeah.
place.
Which ones? What do you usually frequent when you're there?
Well, I've only been to one really good one. Ooh, do you have a parrot or something?
Yeah, I got an African gray and I got a macaw,
Really?
and the macaw is a
I was
winged
just
beast of
guessing.
Satan. No, you're right, dude. That's the one that's loud. I hate the macaw.
Huh.
The African gray is cool as hell. Like he's my buddy. But the macaw just gets loud around this time of the day for some reason. I don't know why.
Is he macaws are from South America? Are they not?
Yes, the macaw we have is actually a female,
Okay.
and she is huge.
Hmm.
She's a big
Yeah,
bird.
I think I saw a bunch of them in Guyana because there's a on the Essequibo River. There's an island there, and at a I want to say right after sunrise and right before sunset, like thousands of these damn macaws fly out to this island and like do what they're going to do there. So it's probably they're flying
Yeah.
there at night and then you see them flying back during the day because they probably roost on this island. It's called
Well,
Parrot Island, but
don't they usually say that birds travel in the evening and in the morning for their water?
yeah,
So
or
you can
to roost.
supposedly usually find water then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the tricks you can use is
Hmm.
watching which directions the birds are flying at certain times of day. That's a trick they taught me at the boss course, because we didn't have any freaking water. It's in the desert,
What's the
and
boss
so
course?
Boulder Outdoor Survival School.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay, all right. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about
So
the acronym. Yeah,
yeah, but that was one of the tricks they taught us, is that, and it actually worked, because
yeah, yeah.
we didn't have any water, so we just watched which direction the birds were flying and drew an arrow in the sand
Hmm.
where it was, and then kind of followed along that line and then found some water. The other
Did
thing
you have to
is,
take a rough bearing off of it or off your compass?
yeah, I don't remember exactly how we did it, but we
Okay, I
probably
was just
did
curious.
that. We just
Okay.
drew a line, and then I don't remember the rest of it because I was pretty hungry and tired. And basically, we did take a bearing and followed that direction, followed that azimuth.
Okay.
But then the other thing you can do is, if there are animals around,
Hmm.
like big animals like elks or mule deer or even cattle or whatever, um, if you follow, if you see a bunch of different tracks, so obviously game trails typically lead to water. But
Hmm.
if you can't find a game trail, then you can, even if you see just random scattered tracks,
Hmm.
they will converge on water eventually.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
if you see a bunch of tracks kind of, angled slightly different from each other, eventually those lead to water. Um,
That
and then
that
of
actually
course,
makes a lot of sense, and I never thought of it like that. But yeah, you're right. Exactly.
yeah, there's all kinds of tricks, and you get really keyed into finding water in the desert.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had my water basically delivered to me in the desert, but yeah, I can imagine that
yeah,
it's something you're on top of in that situation.
yeah. Now let's see. We got sidetracked. You were bringing something up.
Oh,
Oh, Ireland. That's right.
oh yeah, yeah.
So, what'd you do there?
Basically, it was my great uncle, and
Hmm.
he hates me calling him that, but he's my grandma's brother. It was
Okay.
his 50th birthday. He's adopted. It was his 50th birthday, and he wanted to spend it in Ireland. And this is like not this past Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving before. He hit me up. He just calls me and he says, "Hey," he says, "we're talking about Ireland." And I'm like, "Dude, Black Friday is coming up. I gotta have some money for shopping for my daughter, and I really don't want to buy a plane ticket right before Christmas because I know
Right.
it's going to be pricey." And he says, "No, no, no, no." He says, "We need to get them. They're cheap. They're on sale." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." And so I just kind of blew it off. And he says, "Hey, I'll get it. You can pay me back." I said, and before I could tell him no, I'm doing this all by text. Before I could tell him no, he goes, "All right, you owe me $400." And I said, "Okay, for the one way." He goes, "No, that's round trip."
Oh,
And
wow.
I said, "Holy shit!" And that was Delta flying round trip to Ireland, and that was for 7 days, I think, or 8 days, or whatever we were over there. And we basically hung out. The plan was to go to Dublin, and that would be our base camp. And then we were going to try to hit England and try to hit France because tickets were like $50 to go
Yeah.
to any one of those from there.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, plane tickets, maybe it was the season, whatever, plane tickets took a hike for, the region. So all of a sudden we'd be paying $200 or $300 to fly to any one of those. And we're like, yeah, it's just not worth it. We'll just stay in Ireland.
Hmm.
And basically I bummed around the city for a week and had a great time. We went to some really pricey meals and just lived it up for like a week. It was great.
Is the Guinness different there than it is here? Does it taste
I didn't
different?
think so. I really didn't. I mean, of course, here, it's probably not poured properly. That's probably most of the problem
Hmm.
as far as freshness. And I didn't really notice a huge difference, but I just enjoy Guinness in damn near any form.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not a fan of the Guinness in a bottle, though. I don't know what it
I
is.
like
I'll
it in the
drink it out of the
can.
can.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
can.
I'll drink
Yeah,
it out of the can.
yeah. I don't like
Um,
it in the bottle either. It's odd tasting.
Or if you get the extra stout, I like the extra stout in a bottle. That's fine. But the one with the little widget, the draft in a bottle, I don't care for
I
that.
don't like that one. I like the in the can. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's not a good soundbite either.
right. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, don't be clipping that. The other one is,
But
did you?
we did the Guinness distillery or brewery. We did not do the Jameson distillery, and I was told that was a really good one.
Mhm. Did you
We
get
did
some?
all the touristy stuff, went to all the pubs and all that stuff that are downtown. So
Cool. What did they have for like pub food there? Like fish and chips, obviously, and shepherd's
Fish and
pie.
chips. Shepherd's pie was a big one. Man, I'll tell you what. My favorite thing to do was go to breakfast there.
Okay.
And here's something I noticed. Everybody over there has an Americano, right? Like everybody.
Okay.
I don't care where you're at, you can have an Americano. Well, I stopped at this really cool place, and of course, I can't tell you what it's called right now because I don't have my notebook. But I wrote all my stuff down that I traveled to because I'll go back and I want to make sure to hit these places again. And let's see if I can find it here real quick because I do have my notebook. But anyway, they had a really cool breakfast, and it was like bacon. It's, it was more like ham, actually. It was kind of really thinly sliced. They had, that's where I ended up eating a little wedge of tomato, and that was some really cool stuff, man. It was just a really cool trip. What the hell else they have? They had the toast. Lily's Cafe is where I ate a lot. And it was like a half block from our hotel, but they do like scrambled eggs, which I'm a weird guy. So my scrambled eggs, I like to be really dry. I don't, I damn near burnt, right? Like I don't like wet eggs.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I had to tell them that, and it took a while for them to get that. But like 2 or 3 mornings, I ate there. Fried tomato toast, and man, it was really good.
Yeah, it's a English breakfast.
Yeah, basically that's what you were getting.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We eat that for dinner every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the blood pudding though. I tried it.
No, I don't eat.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
No. But that was a really cool place, and man, like I said, it's kind of a running joke, but it's true. You could damn near get a Guinness anywhere. So this one little bar I set up in one day when I went out just rocking the city was I got a Guinness. I first sat down with a cup of coffee because it was billed as a coffee shop. So I sat down, had an Americano, and then the lady said, I started looking at the menu while I was just kicking around there waiting on a text, and I go, "You guys have Guinness?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'll have one of those." And she goes, "Right after a coffee?" I said, "Why the hell not?" And then she brought me like 2 or 3. And it was just a really cool place. Like you could have a Guinness and a coffee in the same place, and it was actually a coffee shop.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool little place. I'm definitely going to go back. And like I said, I wrote down all the damn places I'm going. So I'll go back to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Right after we first got married, they had some deal where you could go and fly over there and stay for like a week for like $700 or something like that. But I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that damn bird's loud, dude. I'm sorry. If that's shrill in your earpiece, I'm sorry.
It's no big deal.
She's usually not too loud and awful, but yeah, I want to go back. We did, and then like a week after I got back from there, 2 weeks after that, we went out to Colorado. I did a lot of traveling this year. Hopefully, we'll be able to replicate some of that this year.
Yeah, I think that cabin is going to occupy more of your time than you think it is.
I know it will, but I'm not going to build it by hand. I mean, I'm going to probably get somebody to do it for me because I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still have to work a full-time job and go to school and, enjoy my time with my daughter whenever I can. So I don't know that I'll have time to build a damn cabin by hand.
Yeah.
She is going off about something.
She's angry.
I think it's the sunlight starting to hit the window now and starting to really get her active. She'll do that for just off. Well, here's what's funny is when you had James, when you guys do the podcast all the time, you'd have Stormy, right? Loud as hell all the time. And then now I got a bird doing it. So.
Yeah. And well, that dog is like, he calmed down a lot after his older brother died.
Yeah, I remember. I think I read that on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's he's a lot better dog now. But when you first show up at the house, though, he goes nuts. Like it's just too much.
Dogs usually do. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hard time to do a podcast with that dog.
I don't doubt that at all.
My God. But it's better now.
And with hounds like that, they bay. They don't bark. They're just. It's loud, kind of howling bark.
Yeah, it's like a torrent of sound.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Have
what
you
else
seen
you got
the?
going on there? Go ahead.
Oh, have you seen the Tops Apache Dawn?
I'll find it.
I
Apache Don.
Yes, Apache Dawn.
Okay.
It may be similar to the blade shape you're talking about, not quite as tall. For some reason, I was thinking of that earlier because I got one
Yeah.
for Christmas, and I was like, it's what, a 7-inch blade, I think, or 6.5 or
Oh,
something.
okay. I'll put it up here. I see
Okay,
what you're
yeah,
getting at. Yeah, they do the. I'll put it up
the
on
little
the.
rise like you're talking about.
Yeah. I'll put it up on the screen here. There we go. And now I'll
Yeah, there you
do
go.
present to everyone. Yeah, I like that, only different. So
Yeah.
the way that is it's got a the rise, yes.
Hmm.
But the other thing you see is that it actually towards the handle, you'll see right where that jimping is. It's
Hmm.
more of a scooped out thing than a rise.
Okay.
You see what
Okay.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I
That's
got you.
not. Yeah. So probably what I'll do is I'll have the top of the blade come straight out from the handle, and then
Okay.
the rise will be there, but it won't be scooped out like that. And then
Okay.
the other thing is that is flat, flat, flat across the bottom, which
Right.
I'm sure it does what they want it to, but that's a little bit different than what I have in mind. But that's a
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool
don't
knife.
mean I don't mean I
Yeah,
don't mean overall profile. I just meant the
yeah.
rise up top, similar to what you
Rise
were
was
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
rises like that. I did I think I made a couple that had something like that in there, and I really liked the way it looked and stuff. It's kind of a neat feature.
Yeah, I've actually got one. I've got one right now in my hand actually, and
Oh, cool.
it's a great knife, and I really don't have anything bad to say about it. I mean, as far as tops goes, it's not obnoxious and a billboard on their blade like most of their stuff, right? Like I do like some of Tops's designs, but they tend to put way too much on the blade as far as like it's almost like a movie credits. Designed
Yeah,
by this guy, produced by this guy. It's like, I don't care. like, you know, but
yeah,
but the sheath sucks, and of course that's the downfall of most knives. Is the sheath is not that great. But
yeah. The only thing, I mean, I've handled quite a few Tops knives, and I think I own one.
mhm. A tracker.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
that's what I figured.
obviously very heavily modified. You know, so
Yeah.
basically, and I would do it even different than this one is if I was going to do another one of these. I did do my own version of a tracker shape,
Yeah.
but what I would do is in this area right here, have that be
Okay.
a Scandi grind, right?
Oh, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
because if you're going to do that kind of whittling and stuff, you're going to do it right up next to the handle. So have that
Yeah.
area be a Scandi grind, and have this area be, since you're trying to chop with it or skin or whatever, and have that be a full height convex.
Okay.
If there's more weight, I did do one of these,
Yeah.
and Dean Boyd bought it. Um,
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
cool.
so and then the other thing I did was I forged the guard in here.
Okay.
Forged,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Kind of
and then
like on the.
I put my handle on it.
Yeah.
And people were asking me to regrind their shit, and I
Oh, I
reground
remember
one
you
of them.
talking about that.
Yeah, I reground one of them, right? And it was
Yeah.
like beautiful, perfect. The guy got it back, and he's like, doesn't say anything to me, but he goes on like some dork forum where they LARP all the time. I know you know
Right.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what it is.
Basically, bushlarping.com or whatever the hell it is. But anyway, he goes on there and writes this thread about and all this, and I'm like, dude, the fuck, because somebody sent me a link to it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll send you $350. Like, I don't
Right.
give a fuck. Like, you paid me nothing to do this. I did
Yeah.
it because you asked me to, and then you didn't even have the courtesy to fucking, talk to me about it. I would have
Right.
gladly gotten you a new knife. I don't give a shit. But and then he's like, no, you can't send me the money, and I'm like, so I tracked him down. I
Yeah.
actually had to do like a white pages search, and I have some access to some databases that I probably shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I tracked the guy down, and I sent him a check for $350, and he cashed it. So
of
it's
course
like,
he did.
yeah, of course he cashes it. But does he take down his posts like bitching about it?
No,
No. So now you know why I don't
that's
regrind people's. I
that
don't
is fucking
regrind other people's
insane.
shit. I am
Well,
not touching your knife if somebody else made it for you ever.
right.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't give a
That's
fuck.
like that's like I had a buddy that would, I mean, I guess that's a little different, the ink thing. Like I had buddies that would go get tattoos covered up or something, but there's a lot of tattoo artists that won't touch somebody else's work, that they're like, well, I'm not going to touch it up for you. Go back to the original guy. You're infringing on art at that point. But yeah, that's,
Well, and then
I don't know
and then
about
the thing
touching a
is like,
tracker.
right, if somebody sends me their tracker, I don't want their tracker, right? And if
Right.
I regrind it, even if I do exactly what they said they wanted, if they don't like it and they bitch, like,
Yeah.
I'm not buying you a new knife, and
Right.
I don't want the knife that you have. So like, if I wanted that knife, I would make one for myself, And so anyway, that's another thing that really kind of turned me off of forums, was that whole situation, but that was years ago. So
Well, go figure that a tracker is the controversial knife. I mean, it is in everything else anyway. It's a polarizing blade, so of course it's going to cause problems.
yeah. Well, anyway, my German friend says, by the way, I fully support that Cory goes back to school. Tell him that I can totally empathize with him. So he's doing it too. So
Awesome.
he was an EMT in Germany, and
Okay.
just recently he went back to college, and he's doing some stuff there.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the support, and I support you as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so the Balzano thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got to get to some other stuff. But anyway, this
Is
Balzano
it something that's going to cause shit though if you bring it up? Because if you have to, you can tell me off air.
Basically,
Okay.
what I would say is that he is very, very polarizing.
Right.
And I talked about it on the podcast before. For whatever reason, he has a history with people where he will take money before he produces the knife, and then the knife never gets produced.
Oh,
right.
okay.
So there's the reason I had him on is because he was asking me on Instagram to have him on, and I'm like, well, okay, and because I had talked about him on the podcast before, I wanted him to have his say.
Of course, yeah.
I never said anything bad about him, but I did say, like, look, just here's the ticket. Just don't take money before you have a finished product. And that eliminates all of those issues. You will never hear anybody saying I ripped him off, because you cannot give me money to make you a knife. I don't care how much money you give me. I'm not taking it until the product is finished. And
that makes sense. It's just good business.
Doing it that way, you don't end up with these issues. And basically, I said that on the podcast, and then apparently he heard it and has been bugging me to have him on. So I had him on, but his current thing is that he started this Kickstarter to make a knife in like 2016, and it's now 2018, and the knife still isn't built. And so I kind of made him explain that on the podcast. And then just like I tell people, it's not my place to sit here and be a gotcha guy or a drama whore.
You're just a mediator. You're just providing a forum.
Right, and just learning about people and talking and shooting the shit, and because people have, if I want to have somebody on that I think is interesting and I can have an interesting conversation with, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's why that one was controversial.
Well, and I wasn't trying to prompt you into that or anything. I've got him, I think, on my Instagram, or somebody's maybe Anthony Scullambrini's talked about him, and I picked it up that way. But I've heard the name, and I've just never researched it.
Yeah, I got to get Anthony on.
He'd be good to be on here.
Yeah, definitely. He had some he had some stuff come through last year that I won't bring up.
Oh,
I'll tell you off the air, but
okay. All
anyway,
right.
yeah, that's not something I'm sure he wants to talk about, and I won't get into it.
He's
But
a he's a pretty good dude. What's his other buddy's name? The Epic Snuggle Bunny guy.
bladereviews.com
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. I think I've been on their show one time. It was pretty neat.
Yeah,
Um,
they're pretty good dudes.
yeah, I might see if I can get him to come on tomorrow.
Yeah, he probably would. He'd probably jump all over it.
Yeah,
Depending on his, schedule, I'm sure.
and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the rest of the day's kind of crappy for me. 'Cause, I got stuff to do, and I have to go to this like OR party tonight, which I
An
don't know.
OR party, like
Yeah,
the real operating room party.
yeah. Well, you don't go to the OR, but the people
Right,
that
but I
work
mean, yeah.
there. Yeah, and I just don't. I don't like going in public very
No,
much.
I understand that.
But yeah, that's why you always see me cooking shit in my hotel room. Man, I made
Yeah.
something good the other night.
Yeah, what was that?
Okay, so I was like driving, and it was like getting late, and I'm like, God damn it, because I didn't have any food, and
Yeah.
this town that I'm going to has no restaurants open, and so
Oh,
I'm
shit.
like, well, so I stopped in the convenience store on the way up there, and they had these convenience store burritos that I really like. You know, the ones
Oh,
that are like,
Jesus. Yeah.
and so I got a couple of those, and I was looking around, and they got a can of Hormel chili,
Oh,
and I
God.
got a can of that, and then I was looking around, and they had that like nacho cheese dip, and so I
Yeah.
heated up the burritos, put the chili over it, and then with nacho cheese on top. Oh my God, it was awesome.
There is a Mexican somewhere right now
Yeah.
killing his firstborn child over this.
Yeah, let me see. I don't know how well this is going to come through, but
Okay, I can see it. That actually looks
yeah.
pretty good. That is
Oh, it
Instagram
was.
worthy, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Maybe I'll put that up later, but yeah, that was the easiest one because they had a microwave in there, and then I always have a little cook pot with me. I just heated up the chili and dumped it over and went to town.
That looks pretty good.
It was
Speaking of that,
awesome.
the cooking thing, you brought up something. I don't know what podcast it was. The one right before Christmas, I think, with James. And dude, I'm gonna have to buy that thing you were talking about for the jet boil.
Oh yeah, that. Okay, so I have that.
Okay.
And it's a little pricey. Is the only thing.
Yeah, I
But
looked at it. I think it was like $100-something. Yeah.
yeah, if you give me a minute, I'll go get it and I'll show it on the
Yeah.
stream here. Give me
Okay.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just sing or something. What the hell was it? To anybody commenting right now, I cannot read your comments, so I can't entertain any question. Oh,
All right,
and you
I
just
brought
appeared
it.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here it is. It's the Jet Boil Jewel.
Oh, it's the whole damn stove.
Yeah, you get the whole thing. But I'll show you. So everything is all packaged up, and then on the inside you have this like velvet thing.
Okay.
Keep your stove. But here's what I was talking about. Why I think this might actually work at altitude.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this out on my porch and let it be at -20 and then try to melt some snow with it. Because the issue you have with these fuel canister type stoves at altitude, and then also if it's cold out, is that eventually the can freezes and you just don't get a very good flame. Well, here's the difference. Pressure. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the difference. You see this little copper ring? That draws from the bottom here. Let me see if I can. draws from here and then goes up there. Let me see if it'll show it. My stupid camera. There it is. So that will actually heat up that copper thing and draw in theory, draw all of the fuel out of this out of the canister, and you don't have to worry about it freezing up and all of that. And also at altitude, theoretically, that should work, because if you look at like the Whisper Light stoves and all of the mountaineering stoves, they all have this copper thing that draws the fuel out of the fuel tank and then heats it up and superheats it. And that's why they work at altitude and in extreme cold. And then the other thing is that the canister is upside down here instead of right side up. So in theory, I mean, I haven't tested it yet, but in theory, that should, get over some of the problems I have with using that as a big outdoor expedition type stove. The other thing I would say, though, is that finding those canisters with any kind of regularity is challenging.
You're talking about just in the regular fuel canisters?
Yeah, if you are, let's say you're not in the United States, let's say you're in South America or or anywhere else around the world, and that's why I favor the. Everybody always asks me what's my go-to stove. When I'm in the States, I like convenience. I like stuff like this, or I like a Moore's pot with MSR makes this little thing that you just screw into the top of those deals.
Oh, the pocket rocket, yeah.
Yeah, so I just use the MSR little rocket deal with a fuel canister, and then so I have the Moore's pot, and then MSR Titan fits inside the Moore's pot, and then I put the little stove inside the MSR Titan, then camp suds and a little Brillo pad, double-sided sponge Brillo pad to clean everything up with, and then my spoon. And that's my usual cook kit that I travel with, unless I'm trying to play around, do something different. But if you go somewhere where those are not readily available, those fuel canisters, or if you're going to be out for a significant amount of time, I think that the liquid fuel stoves are the way to go, especially if you get one of the international models that lets you burn basically anything in it, including gas.
I had one. I had a Whisper Light International or International, and I just could not make myself use the liquid fuel stove. I felt like I was going to somehow blow myself up or catch myself on fire. I'd make a horrible meth head, is what I'm saying. But I tried this and I just couldn't get into it, so I just went back to the jet oil. But for what you're doing, for what you're talking about, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess the issue is that you get out away from civilization, and you need to. I mean, obviously, you can always cook over a fire. But if you're trying to get it, you can't sometimes at altitude. Let's say you're, I've been in this situation. I'm on up in the mountains at 11,000 feet, and there's no fucking trees because they're all under 10 feet of snow.
Right.
What now? How are you going to cook with a fire there? So you have to have some method of cooking that is portable and reliable, and that's
now white gas works pretty well still at altitude, right?
Oh yeah, everything does. If you use that MSR Whisper Light will work regardless. So you can bring the Coleman camp stove fuel, you can bring gasoline, you can bring whatever the hell you want. I usually just bring the Coleman camp stove fuel.
Okay.
And that's go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we had in the Marine Corps we had Coleman Peak 1 stoves, and then they got the little kit that's like what the hell is it called, like a adapter kit or whatever, to where it would run on JP8 diesel fuel basically, and because all our vehicles run on JP8, so they would truck that in, and we didn't use those stoves that often. At least the first go around we didn't. The second go around we definitely didn't. But if there is a picture, I got a picture on my Instagram of me shaving on the front end of a Humvee outside of Fallujah. And I was using one of those Coleman Peak 1 stoves to heat up the water. Yeah. And I kind of want to get another one of those. but I really don't have a need for it in my life right now, other than, I'm a gear queer and I want a piece of gear. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I have one of those that I got when I was a kid, and it still
Oh, okay.
works.
Yeah, they're
So those,
solid stoves.
yeah, and it's basically it's built on the same principle as the Whisper Light. It's just that the fuel
Hmm.
canister is attached right to it.
Right,
So
exactly. Yeah, it's all contained.
yeah, so I did a video kind of comparing a bunch of different fuel stoves and showed the evolution. So I have the Optimus that Shackleton brought on his
Hmm.
voyages, and I go from all the way from back then all the way to modern stoves, and kind of explain what it is and why you would take this for that particular application.
You
Um,
posted that one on your YouTube?
yeah, it's like outdoor stoves or something like that. I did it like
Okay.
last year. Um,
Okay.
yeah, but I think I put a Peak One in there because right
Okay.
before that I got my Peak One out and I had to I had to refit it. Like some of the parts weren't as good as they once were. Because at this point it's a
Okay.
30-year-old stove. But it
Okay.
works fine now after sprucing it up a bit.
I'll have to go back and watch that one. You know what's funny, and you probably heard this from a few people. A lot of your videos, well, especially with the Becker videos, I've watched, and they've just popped up because you'd say, "Hey, I'm sharing this" or whatever on the forums and stuff. And then there's times that if I search something out, like, "Oh, hey, I need to look up something about cast iron," and like one of your videos will pop up, and I'm like, "Oh, well, hell, I'll watch his." And so
Yeah.
that happens a lot, that something like that comes back up. But I didn't know you did a stove video, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody recently, and they're like, "Well, how do you grow a YouTube channel?" And I said, "Well, if I am looking how to do something, and there isn't a video, or the video is of poor quality,
Mhm.
what I'll do is, I do a Google search for what I'm looking for. If there's not a video that shows up right away, or if I look and the videos are crappy, then I'll make a video,
Okay.
and then sooner or later, it takes a couple months, but eventually, if you search for that subject, my video is the top thing on Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I've basically, everything that's on there is stuff that I was trying to figure out how to do, or I knew how to do, and there wasn't a good video on it because somebody asked me, so I made a video. Um, and then there's other stuff on there where I wanted to remember how to do something. Like I
Okay.
researched it, I did a bunch of stuff, I figured out how to do it, but I knew there were parts, little subtle things here and there that I would forget. So there's a lot of stuff that I did, and then now I can go back and watch exactly what I did, so that I know how to do
Okay.
it.
So it's like you
So
documenting the process for yourself.
yeah, it's basically an
Okay.
online diary. A lot of that
That's pretty
stuff
smart.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
vlog or whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Awesome. I didn't even think about that.
But anyway, what else you got? You were going to talk about something.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you said you had some things you wanted to get to.
Whatever's on your agenda.
Oh, hell, I didn't have it. I got a couple things. Hey, actually, as a hand guy, I got a question for you. Not medical, but I read an article recently on. It was basically saying that our hands are not as, even strangely enough, not as evolved or not as efficient as primate hands.
Well,
Does that?
I don't know. I guess with our hands, the difference between our hands and other primates is that
Mhm.
we have opposable thumbs.
Right.
Because if other primates could do this,
Mhm.
we would have monkey slaves.
Yeah.
Because you can train a monkey, they just can't do this, and it turns out that that's what you need the most to do human type things. Now there
Right.
are like orangutans and gorillas and stuff that have evolved hands that are really good at doing this because they want to swing from like limb to limb,
Right.
so they're really, really good at
They're
that.
like
But
hooks. Yeah.
but they can't do this.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you have a hand, this is what you want to be able to do, and that's why in people. So I dealt a lot with mutilated hands and stuff, and people with table saw injuries. There's one digit that we will always, always, always try to reattach.
Mhm.
No matter what, we'll at least make an attempt, and that's the thumb.
Okay.
Index finger, a lot of times we don't even bother with because it gets in the way. It ends up stiff and stuff. And you can use the middle finger to do the pinching thing. And index finger sometimes will get in the way. But the thumb, unless you have that thumb there, or even a shortened thumb, you can adapt. Your brain will adapt. But this is what you need to do most stuff.
Right.
And so that's my take on it.
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
about the specifics of the evolution and stuff. I'd have to see what the argument was, but
I gotta see if I can dig that article up. I was actually gonna find it last night and send it to you, but I got sidetracked doing something else. I was gonna send it to you and have you read it beforehand, but I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I was curious. But I think that's basically what they were saying, is they were just like, look, our hands aren't perfect for doing certain things like a primate hand is with, like you said, the heavy kind of thumb to palm type deal.
Yeah.
So that was just something I was curious about.
Yeah, we're go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, what the hell's the deal with it? You ever notice, like, when you drink, pinky out type thing? Is that just because that damn thing's so useless? I swear a pinky doesn't really do much.
It doesn't. So what the pinky does and what your ring finger does, I'll show you this, and you can try this at home.
Oh, Lord.
Let me find an appropriate tool here to demonstrate. All right, I'll use this. Bussy Boss Jack.
Speaking of controversial, yeah.
I don't care. I like them. Everybody can fuck off. I like my Bussies. So what your pinky does, try this sometime. You can grip with just your index finger and your long finger and your thumb.
Okay.
And without applying your pinky and your ring finger.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
And now take your other hand and very carefully notice how easy it is to pull that knife out of there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now grip with just the ring finger, or just the ring finger and the small finger, and try to do the same thing. Right?
Yeah, it locks it in, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can't. So the actual force of your grip is the small finger and the ring finger. That's where the strength of your grip comes from, is right there. And
that blew my idea all the hell. Thanks.
Stupid. I don't know what the deal with the pinky is. I find myself doing that too.
Well, I used to catch a lot of shit because people thought I was just being fancy or something, even if I was drinking like a PBR. And it's like, look, man, it's just a force of habit. Like, it's like one of those things. I just do it.
Yeah, and it's probably just something you just started doing for whatever reason. But
probably as a little kid, I emulated off some video or movie or something and have done it since.
The other thing you want to know about, you're talking about grip strength, right?
Okay.
And here's another stupid trick. Let's say that somebody has a pen in their hand and you want to get that pen out of there. Okay.
Okay.
How you would get that pen out of there is flex the wrist. All right.
Okay.
If you flex the wrist, you can pull that pen out of there easy. Doesn't matter how hard, doesn't matter how big the guy is. If you can get their wrist flexed, you can pull that right the fuck out of there. No problem. If it's
that makes sense. Yeah.
If it's extended or if it's neutral, there's no way you can pull that out of there. And it's because your muscles in the forearm is what controls all of that.
Your push-pull muscles, yeah.
Right. They have the flexor muscles are on this side of the arm, on the this is right like that. So that's where all of your flexor muscles are, and they have an optimal contracting range. So you may have noticed, like bench press, if you start off up here, it's easy to push it the rest of the way. If you start off here, it's very difficult. And that's because your muscles are designed to be at a certain length and get the most power at a certain length. Okay. So if you do this, you're putting those flexor muscles beyond what their optimal flexion, beyond the length they need to be to have the most force. So that's another stupid hand trick.
Okay. Anyway. Well, that's actually pretty interesting. That's what I was curious about, because I know we did a lot of takedown type stuff, and oh, like weapon retention drills and shit in the Marine Corps. And I remember doing stuff like that, like for the martial arts program.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about the science of it. So that's cool.
Yeah. The cops, police know how to do that.
Oh,
Just
yeah. That's like one of the first things they taught us.
Yeah. Intuitively, they know how to do that. And your average person walking around, if you grab their hand and pull it like that, they're not going to know to resist.
Right.
And that's the other thing. I did tons and tons and tons of martial arts when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I don't talk about it because you're not supposed to, but I did ass pots of martial arts in different
Well,
fields.
you're talking about it now, so you failed.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I don't talk about it very much, but I did tons and tons and tons of it, and I wrestled and I played football. And I could always tell, and I got into some scuffles quite a bit. You might imagine I have a bit of a mouth, and I
can see that.
I don't, if somebody's messing with me, I don't, and they don't stop, and especially if somebody's physically aggressive, like a rage trigger goes off, and I just handle it. Well, so that happened a few times, and I could always tell if whoever I was going after, if they'd had any kind of training, because trained people will react one way and untrained people will react another. And the vast majority of people out there have no clue. So if you get in a fight, God forbid, with somebody, if they aren't a trained fighter, you can tell within a few seconds just by the way they're standing and by a bunch of stuff. And they're untrained. You can take advantage of that. And so easily. And it's stupid stuff like stuff that they would never know because they didn't train in it and they didn't think about it and nobody showed them. So I always liked that aspect of it, was figuring out if somebody was trained or not, and if they were trained, how they were trained, and figuring out what the weakness in their training was and taking advantage of it. It was more of an, at some point it becomes an intellectual thing. I know it's not.
Well, it's like that. You get to be a wiser person at some point and see. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. But in wrestling, they taught us some ways to wrestle other trained wrestlers. They didn't teach you how to wrestle somebody who was untrained. And then, the other problem and probably Joe Rogan has talked about this, the other problem with wrestlers is if you haven't trained in any other martial arts, you're not going to be super good at fighting. If you get somebody on the ground, or if you get a hold of somebody, it's game fucking over. But
that's why all like your MMA guys train a stand-up game and a ground game, and they cross train.
Yeah, you have to, because if you just do it, the other thing is all of these martial arts have different rules. Like in judo, if you were going to do a certain throw, you couldn't grab them by the uniform. It was illegal to grab them because it was illegal to grab them on certain throws, because if you grabbed them, it was like cheating, So you get this, if you're in these sports for years, you get these things ingrained that you just won't do. Right. And wrestling is the same way. You will never, if you're a wrestler, you're trained that if you grab somebody around the neck, you can't do that sleeper thing. Like that's totally illegal. The other thing is there's a move called a Nelson where full Nelson. You won't do that. You'll only do a half Nelson. So there are things you can do to people that are extremely effective, and the problem is that these individual martial arts train that out of you. And so that's why it's good to train in a bunch of different things. And then with wrestling, you don't physically punch, knee, kick, or do anything to anybody. And if all you've ever done is wrestle, you're going to have that trained into you, and it's very, very difficult, because once something starts, instinct takes over. And if your instinct is to not punch somebody even though you need to, you're gonna have issues. But
well, isn't that what they thought? That's kind of what we thought was going to happen with the McGregor Mayweather fight. We thought, well, surely McGregor is going to like revert back to his normal training and throw a knee or something, and he never did. I mean, well, he did, but he didn't. He kept trying to grab the guy from behind, is what it was. But
and that's what you do is you try to get around behind somebody and take them down. That's
it's because it's an instinct.
thing.
Yeah, at that point, you've trained yourself.
And then you the way to do it is you put your foot behind one of their feet. So you've probably done this. You put
a
your
tipping point.
Yeah, and then you pull them backwards, and that they will trip because their foot is locked and they can't re-step. If your foot's so he was probably trying to do that because that's what he knows. But I actually still haven't seen the fight, but I know that he lost.
You got to watch it, man. It is fun. It's good. It's a good fight to watch.
Yeah. So I predicted that Mayweather was going to tear him apart. Because it's boxing and there are rules to boxing and it's its own thing. And if you have a master boxer and you have to compete under the rules that he is trained for and is used to, you're toast. Maybe in a street fight where everything is legal, it'd be a different thing. But in a ring where there are set rules and you can't violate them, you got no hope.
Well, did you see that they did like they did like a little publicity tour, right? Like to work up the fight, and they kind of played off each other, and they did it for the crowd because they're both showmen, and that's what they do. Yeah. But they also did the whole thing where, hey, we're going to bring it in, we're going to do this. And I think Mayweather thought that McGregor was going to be pretty easy to beat. And McGregor threw a couple bell ringers in there that were like, oh shit, now we're not playing. And you could tell he was getting pretty pissed. It was like, now I really got to fight again. And I think that's when he realized he was going to step it up and quit playing with this kid, And it was just a good fight, man. I think it was a good fight to watch. You should watch it.
I will. I'll try to look that up later. But that's like when Apollo Creed was fighting Rocky.
Yeah.
He thought he was just going to tear him apart, and all of a sudden Rocky's I'm not going down, buddy.
Well, what was funny is I'd never actually watched the first movie for the longest time. And I think I seen it one day, and then they, maybe it was something to do with like because the fight was coming on, they started showing it again on whatever channel. And I started watching it. I go, holy shit, that's basically what's going to happen in this fight. And I'm not a fight commentator. I'm not, an analyst or anything, but I was like, I see stuff and I think that's what's going to happen. And it kind of was, we'll go out and put out a little show. But I think also we all knew Mayweather wasn't just going to let him have the fight. It's like, look, dude, he's going to go out with his undefeated title.
Yeah.
Like,
because
no matter what.
If Mayweather loses, trolls are going to bother him for the rest of his life.
Well, and there would always be that stigma. He would always say, look, it wasn't really a real fight. It was a showcase fight or whatever. It was he wasn't going to let that. They would always have this little asterisk by it. So, I don't know. But it was definitely good.
I'll have to watch that. When I was in college, I used to watch, they used to have like Tuesday night fights. Mm-hmm. It was like FX or one of those shows like that or channels like that.
Yeah.
But I went to school with a boxer that was an Olympic champion named Jeremy Williams. He was in my high school for a couple years, and then he went out to California because there was better opportunities for him out there. But I saw him fight on there, and then the other person I saw fight on there was it was like Rocky IV. Remember there was that kid that he was training up?
Yeah.
Blonde-haired kid.
Yeah.
He was a real fighter. He actually fought, and I used to watch him there. And then he punched some guy at a Perkins in Iowa City.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, when I was there, I wasn't in the Perkins, but I was in Iowa City when that happened. And of course,
man.
But yeah, I love boxing and stuff, but really the only thing you can catch nowadays is usually the MMA stuff. But and I watched it for a while, but after we got rid of our cable, I kind of stopped with all of that. I do like watching highlights though. The other person
I like watching that stuff.
Yeah, the other person you should watch, you should go back and watch every fight you can find is Muhammad Ali.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
I've caught some
God.
stuff, but not everything. Yeah,
Yeah, his stuff is just beautiful. He's
yeah. That's what I've always
beautiful
heard
to
him
watch.
described as almost just an artist.
Yeah, and the other one that's really I used to really like, and I still watch is Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay. Yeah.
Just beautiful, artful fighters. Just, I mean, glorious stuff. Anyway,
When I was like 7, I had a pair of I think they were Everlast boxing gloves or something. Somebody got me, and they
yeah,
were Sugar Ray Leonard gloves. So that's one of
yeah,
those like little things that name sticks with me because of that, you know.
yeah. He was a big. It would have been in the '80s probably when you had those.
Oh yeah, I was probably 89 maybe, so I was
Yeah,
like
because
7. Yeah.
that's when he was that's when right around the time when he was in his prime. I used
Okay.
to watch him on HBO. They had a few of his fights on there.
Okay.
But yeah, I had the boxing gloves and the bag and all that, and used to work
Oh
out
yeah.
on there. And then every once in a while, I had two pairs of boxing gloves. And
Oh
every once in a while, somebody'd come over and be like, "Let's box," and I'd be like, "Okay, just for fun, though, right?" And then pretty soon the problem is then you whack one of them good, and then they get pissed, and then it turns into a real
yeah.
fight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all
you
fun
know?
and games till it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, until somebody actually gets hit, and then
Right.
they get mad. So, but
Uh,
I'm a good boy. I haven't done any of that kind of stuff in a long time.
uh,
So I'm actually a nice boy, and that's why nobody knows any of that stuff is because I am
Now you
very
just duke
nice.
it out on the forums. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't go on the forums. But
Hell yeah.
anyway,
Have you heard about it? There was a 2003 TED Talk. Wade Davis. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not.
mm-mm.
He's a what is it? Ethnobotanist or some I don't know some shit I've never heard of. But anyway, some kind of scientist of some sort, and he studies primitive cultures and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
He did a talk called "Cultures." I had to write it down because I couldn't remember what it was called. Cultures of the Far Edge of the World.
I'm gonna look it up
And
real
he
quick.
talked. Yeah,
Maybe I
check
can
it
put a
out. He
link to
talks.
it.
He
Uh-huh.
talks about living with the Inuit, and they told a story, or he told the story of an old man that wandered out into the wilderness, just decided it was his time to die,
Mm-hmm.
and they were going to leave him out there.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes out there and he just decided he was going to go out with no weapons, no tools, no nothing or something. I can't remember exactly the story, but he ended up making a knife out of his own shit.
What?
Oh yeah, go look it up. I can't believe you guys haven't talked about this yet.
Okay, I
And
gotta I gotta do this. So I'm gonna put it up on screen for people to watch.
you're going to make a
Um,
knife out of your own shit?
no, God no. I
Oh,
actually let me see if I can um find where it is here. Can you hear it?
okay. Yeah, I can. I can't hear it yet.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear it. No,
Okay, well then it's probably
I
you
can
can't.
see it.
Yeah, it's probably you can't. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll watch it and
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah. Watch it and check it out and see what you think. Because I'm telling you,
yeah.
it's crazy to hear about. And I think Pelton did something one day on his what is it? His Facebook page he has or whatever the hell they've created a different Pelton page or something now. I don't know
Yeah,
whatever's going on.
it's the one where he got like a month
Yeah,
ban for talking about like naughty Muslims
yeah.
or something.
So now he's got somebody brought up something about a knife situation similar, and I brought that up, and it was like, oh, that we don't talk about that, and I don't know what the stigma was with it. And I was just laughing. I was like, I thought it was pretty cool and innovative, but whatever. Uh, and I think he ended up killing a seal too and gutting it with that knife.
Yeah, and then once you do that, then you've got bones. You can make knife out of the seal bones and all that.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like this guy's like, I'm gonna die, but I'm not ready to die yet, so I'm gonna go to an extreme.
Yeah, TED Talks are like church for liberals.
Oh yeah, well, it's one of those things that comes in through like my filter somehow. Like it's not something I subscribe to. It's just
Yeah.
I hear about it somewhere else.
No, I've heard a
Um,
few. I've heard a few interesting ones. There's this guy, the guy that did that Sex at Dawn book. He's been on
I
Joe
don't know
Rogan
that
a
one.
bunch of times.
Which
Uh,
one's that? What's his?
let me find it. Anyway, you should look up the Joe Rogan of this. It's
Oh, I'm sure I've heard it.
yeah, you would have seen it. It's the guy's name is who's the author? Christopher Ryan.
Oh yeah. Okay, Chris Bryant.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. So he's been on there a bunch. I actually read the book after I saw him on Joe Rogan. He's got some interesting theories. I think you know the thing is like if you've seen him on Joe Rogan, the thing is he lives a very different kind of life than you and I do. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
he's
Oh
got
yeah.
like wealthy friends all over the world, and he really doesn't have to worry about anything because he can just go stay with somebody,
Right.
you know, and so lives a very different life than we do because he really doesn't have to sustain himself. So some of his ideas kind of come from a place that maybe wouldn't work for like you and me.
A normal person. Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, I liked I saw his him on Joe Rogan. I think he did a TED talk. The other person that's real interesting, he's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times, is Sam Harris.
Sam Harris is a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
That's the is that the Primal guy? Primal Blueprint?
He I'll put up a picture
Or
of
no,
him.
I'm thinking of Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
What the
Sam
hell is
Harris
his,
is I'll show you. I'll put it on the stream here.
see, no, normally I could look this stuff up while we're talking, but I'm using
Yeah,
my phone as the camera.
yeah, I'll put it up here. This guy,
Okay.
Sam
Yeah,
Harris.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got a good he's I mean sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not so good.
I think he was just on in the last like month or two, maybe again.
Yeah, he's on there quite a bit. But
Yeah.
you know when he's not talking about nonsense, he's pretty good. The best when he's at his best is when people are trolling him.
Oh yeah.
All pissed off and he does the dumb thing. He interacts with the trolls and he'll go on and
Yeah.
bitch about it.
And that's what Rogan's told him. He's like, dude, stop doing that shit.
Yeah,
He's like,
I know.
you're gonna make yourself. You're putting
Yeah.
yourself in an early grave.
Let me find you somebody else that I like. He's been on. I found him after. What's his face? After he was on Joe Rogan.
Honestly, man, the only person that Rogan has ever had on that I delete their podcast before I even listen to it, like I just know right away I'm not going to listen, is the guy that used to work with him, Brian Redband. I don't like that guy. He used to be his. Now he's got Jamie that does all his computer stuff for him in the background and researches stuff. It used to be Brian Redband, and Redband just annoys me because he would derail podcasts. Rogan had to stop having him in, and he would only bring him in when other comedians were in, and then he stopped having him in altogether. And that dude just aggravates me to listen to, so I won't even listen to his podcast on there.
Yeah, this guy Sargon of Akkad was on there. He's he's a YouTuber. He's got like I don't know 600,000 or 700,000 subscribers. But what he was doing at the time he was on there was he would take these videos of these like social justice warrior people and make fun of them. And so he got pretty famous for doing that. And he was on Joe Rogan once right after he got into all this hot water. And it was a funny appearance because he was just like shot out of a cannon bitching about these social justice warriors and stuff. Anyway, another one. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look his up. I probably listened to his so long ago that I don't remember it, but I know I've had to have heard it.
It was like sometime last year he was on there. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I mainly just check it every once in a while and see. Did you ever get into the Dan Carlin hardcore history stuff?
Yeah. The one I couldn't, and when he's on Rogan, he's really good too.
Yeah.
He's got another podcast too called Common Sense or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've heard 2 of those, but I've heard a lot of his hardcore histories. The World War I one was fantastic, and you know what I really liked about it is that they didn't talk about the U.S. because we really weren't that big a part of it.
Yeah, until the very end, we didn't want to do with it, and even up until World War II, we had a very different approach to foreign policy.
Way different than it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would actually kind of like it to go back to that because if you notice, in the last week or so, it looks like they're trying to ramp up and start shit with Iran. right? So it's the same. You remember with when in the amp up to the Gulf War One and Gulf War Two, there were pretty much weekly stories about, oh, this poor oppressed person in this country and all that. Well, they just did one of those for Iran, where some lady's like tearing off her burqa or something, and everybody's like, oh, go you, and all this. And it's like, listen, how many, you have to ask yourself, you have to look at this in different terms. How many American boys should go over to Iran and get killed so that Iranian girls can wear bikinis?
Yeah.
That's
so that
what
they can basically effectively burn their bras is what they're doing. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, listen, they have their own country. They have their own culture. If they want to, they can democratically change any of that. In the 1970s, Iran was very different than it is now.
Way different. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. They had all of that.
They just think it's been that way since the Stone Age. Yeah.
Yeah, they had, I mean, you look up 1970s Iran, it was like very secular, and they voted to go back to a more traditionalist way of doing it. And I do not see how it's our business to tell them that they shouldn't live the way they want, Now,
I don't think that should be brought over here, but yeah, I think you're right. I think that's, we just say, hey, keep that shit over there, and it doesn't bother us. Yeah.
Yeah, leave us out of it, But anyway, so that I think they're ramping up, and that's kind of concerning because the whole point is to get the hell out of all of these wars. And
and I think all we're doing is finding a reason. At some point you can kind of see where people are always saying, hey, we're only over there for, the resources or whatever, and we're always going to be there to have a presence for this. And at some point you can kind of see, wow, maybe we are trying to find a reason to stick around for whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So, I mean, there's that cynical side of me that can give credence to that, but yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is like they always say, oh, it's just for oil. Well, it's really not, because we have more oil in this. We're a net oil exporter in this country now.
And didn't we just find out Australia is loaded with oil, and we're real good buddies with them?
Yeah, and so the deal is like our technology has evolved so that we can get oil where we previously couldn't. And so we have more oil than we need. We have so much that we export it. We're one of the largest exporters of oil in the world. So it's not that. It has to be something else. And I don't know what it is, but like, I don't care what it is. Like, let them do their own damn thing. Like, But anyway, that's my rant.
You know how we are. We're not exactly able to do that.
Yeah. Well, we used to be able to. Us entering World War I and World War II was hugely unpopular at the time.
Oh yeah.
Everybody likes to say that, we entered World War II because they were putting Jews in ovens. No, not at all. Number one, like if Henry Ford, right? Henry Ford put out a big book about like all this Jew hate stuff. So, so like in the United States at the time, there was a big strain of anti-Semitism. So the reason we went over there was not to rescue Jews. It was something else entirely, and now we're kind of retconning everything and saying we did it to like save all of these people, and we just didn't. That's not the
Go
kind
look
of country
up.
we were at the time.
Wasn't it Dan Daly? I think that wrote. Marine Dan Daly.
Yeah.
I think he wrote a big book about how we're getting too big for our britches, basically, and messing around with other affairs. And he got in a lot of shit over that because he was, a pretty prominent figure in the Marine Corps culture, at least. And for him to do something like that was almost like, holy shit, dude, you're biting the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
And it was pretty interesting to read about that.
Well,
what the hell was that called? Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we actually go down that road, which I really hope we don't. I really hope we do not have war with Iran.
Well, the idea was, this last election, some of the promises we had were, and I don't want to get too far into the politics of it, but some of the promises were, hey, America first. We're going to quit fucking around in places we don't need to be and bring shit back home to fix it. Yeah. And I'm hoping that that's followed through.
Well, and so far they've kind of followed that path.
Yeah. Yeah.
There, you know, one of the things he did like day one, and you would know more about this than I do, but like all of a sudden, day one of Trump's presidency, the rules of engagement were changed. He's like, go and fight the fucking war and win it. Like, end of all this nonsense about like they have to shoot at you 5 times before you can shoot back once. You know.
Well, the gloves being off is something that definitely needed to happen.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was silly to send people to war with handcuffs on, but you know, because honestly, our ROEs changed. I mean, you know, people say daily, and I think maybe occasionally they did, but for the most part, it was like every other week we were given a different ROE card. Hey, you're carrying this one now, and you'd be like, I'm not going to stop and read this shit. Like during the time, like, oh, hey, I don't know what we're doing this week. Hold on. Do you remember that scene in Three Kings in the beginning? I think it was Mark Wahlberg when he says, hey, are we allowed to shoot today? And he's like, I think so. And he goes, all right, I'm going to take the shot. And he clips him. And I was like, dude, that's exactly how it was some days. Like, we didn't know if it was a police action some days, if it was combat again. We didn't know some days. So, yeah, you're exactly right. It does change. But with Mattis being Secretary of Defense, that's a huge boost of morale.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is I think they were kind of quiet about it, but you notice that all of a sudden, like, there wasn't all of this crap anymore. It wasn't like, you know, oh, ISIS is undefeatable, we can't push them back. And like now, like they're just getting mowed down. Because again, these are untrained people. It'd be like taking me and putting me into war and expecting me to be able to do shit. You know,
you'd be surprised what you could do.
Right. But no, in terms of military tactics, I wouldn't know. I mean, I can shoot, and I'm sure they can. I can fight hand to hand, but knowing how to maneuver, knowing how to work as a unit, like I don't know any of that. Yeah, and neither do they. You know, and there are tactics that have been built up over centuries of warfare, you know, that you have to learn. And if you're fighting, again, this goes back to the whole untrained versus trained fighter. If you are like me, untrained, and somebody that's a trained military person gets in a military style engagement with me, I'm done. You know, and that's basically what it is. If you let them fight the way they need to fight, it's like game over.
A big part of it is just understanding human nature and instincts and what to expect the other person to do. That's a big part of it. You know, anybody that was ever any good at being a general or a war planner studied history. So I don't know.
It's like in the movie Patton, where he's like, I read your damn book. You know, you remember that?
Yeah, man. I don't know. You know, like I said, that's kind of like Mattis. You know, Mattis has been compared a lot to Patton, but he was, you know, the warrior monk or whatever, right? He was the guy that studied history. He was the guy that actually pays attention and learns from history. So that's why he's so good at what the hell he does. Dude's just an awesome guy.
Well, I'm glad he's the boss.
Well, yeah. That was definitely a good call as far as Trump's part, I think.
Did you see the movie? What was it? Lone Survivor.
Which one was that? Was that the Mark Wahlberg movie where there's the seal?
Yeah, Marky Mark was in it. But anyway, the reason I remembered that was the knife that he had. I'll put it up here. This is the reason I remembered. Again, it's always if there's a knife in the movie, even if it's a bad movie, I'm gonna remember it.
Oh yeah, so, it's a SOG. Yeah. The SOG Seal Pup Elite or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then he had a Kydex sheath with it, and the way the Kydex sheath was at the very end of the blade, there was a break in the sheath so that you could
cord cutter.
Yeah, you could cut something without removing your blade, and it was still relatively safe.
You know, I don't know. I've seen that feature on a couple knives, and I just don't know that it's that damn useful.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got a kick out of it. You know,
it's pretty cool.
Right, because as soon as I saw that movie, I ordered the knife, and I ordered it, and I paid for the right sheath, but they sent me the fucking nylon sheath, so I ended up giving the knife away on the podcast or something. But anyway.
That's I do remember that movie. That was actually pretty good.
Hmm.
As far as, and I'll tell you a really good movie as far as accuracy. I don't know about the story because there's some dispute there, but the American Sniper movie was really
Hmm.
good as far as how things work and all that. Really, really a killer movie. The only critique I have of that movie is all the gear, all the equipment looked brand new. Even in that
Yeah.
sandstorm, it all looked brand new. Otherwise, everything was pretty damn accurate.
Yeah. It's like on the last podcast, somebody was talking about, Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
The criticism they had of it was that when people would get in fights, especially the women, they'd be mid fight and their hair and makeup would be perfect. You know,
Right. Well, yeah. Certain things they have to, make the actors, I guess, look good in no matter what.
yeah. So hi to Aaron and Crystal. Um, they they said hi. There's some people I know
Oh, okay, cool,
in Kansas City.
awesome.
Um, yeah, but anyway, what else you got?
I think the only other thing I had to actually, I'm sure you've heard about this. Julianne Kopecky, you know that
I
name?
know that name.
Kopecky. She was the German chick that fell like 10,000 feet from her plane. She was the sole survivor of a flight back in like the 70s.
Oh yeah,
Survived
yeah,
11 days in the Amazon with like one shoe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I've been reading a little bit about that lately, and I was just like blown away by that. I was like, and the chick fell 10,000 feet strapped to her damn chair, and only ended up with a broken collarbone and a gash in her arm.
How the hell do you how does that even happen?
Exactly. At that point, like you would think. Now, I'm the kind of guy that if I fell 10,000 feet, I'm going, holy shit, I'm going to survive because I just survived that. Like it's almost like a given. I would almost feel like I don't have to do anything because I am chosen, and that's why I
Yeah,
would die.
yeah. The yeah, I've heard that story through the survival world. I haven't
Mhm.
looked into it that much, but the one that I actually read the book was there was a plane crash of like some soccer team in the
Oh, it was a
mountains.
rugby team, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Was it
I don't
soccer? I don't.
remember. I don't remember, but anyway, they crashed and they ended up eating each other, and finally a couple of them like walked out or something,
Yeah,
walked
that
out the mountain.
Alive was the movie they made.
Yeah,
But wasn't
yeah,
it like
and
the
then
Andes or something or
yeah, and then
something?
and then there
Yeah.
was a book, and the book was actually pretty good. Um,
Okay.
but anyway, I read that, and then I've read all the stuff about Shackleton's voyages, and then anything by John Krakauer.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
the one that
I
wrote
agree with that.
that book about the kid that went up into the Alaska and went to the bus and then like died
Oh
up
yeah,
there.
the into the
In the
wilds. Yeah.
wild. Yeah. So anyway, he wrote that, and then he's actually climbed Everest a couple
I was
times,
say he
and
did the one about, was it K2 or something?
yeah, he did some
Maybe
Everest
it was
books,
Everest.
and yeah, but anyway, he was a writer for Outside, and
Yeah.
then now he does some books and things. But anything by him is good. I've read all of those. Um,
I'll tell you what, as far as Outside magazine, when we were in Fallujah uh, for the final push, all our mail finally started coming through. Like once we established a firm base and we started getting our mail finally, I
mhm.
got, and mind you, this is after we had fought through Fallujah. We're done. We're basically just doing a hold the ground type thing.
Mhm.
I read the article about Aaron Ralston cutting his arm off out in Colorado.
Oh
And I
yeah,
remember sitting there going, holy fuck, I don't think I could do that. That guy's got balls. Do I have the fortitude to do that?
you
After
do.
I'd been through combat. I know, but I was just going, I don't know that I could do it. And I was so into this. I bet I read that article about 15 times. And it was like a 5 or 6 page article. I get home, get out of the Marine Corps. I get the book because the book had just came out. I read the book. It wasn't that good. It was almost too much information
Yeah, I've read
to
that
make me
book too.
stop caring about the story. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think it was that good. And then the movie was excellent.
yeah.
Um, and
I don't. I think I read
I'll
the
admit it,
book. I
man. I
didn't see
cried at
the.
the end when he finally gets found. I was like, holy, that's awesome, man. Like, and I knew the outcome of it, and I was
Yeah,
still like, this is an awesome, powerful scene. Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah,
The book on Into the Wild. The guy's name was Christopher McCandless, And that's
Yeah.
actually a good book. Because they
The
talk
book is
about all
good. The
his
movie
monkey
sucked.
business. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that bus is still there because there's no fucking way to get it out of there.
Yeah.
You'd have to bring a
Yeah.
chopper in to get it out.
Well, and they said it's become a problem too. Like people are going out to get too into it. You know, they're getting in trouble going out there to visit the place, and the family's like, I wish people would stop going.
Yeah, well,
But
because the issue is like it's the reason he died there is it's dangerous to go there, numbnuts.
exactly, yeah. And he did not know what the hell he was doing.
No, he brought like a bag of rice and some crap
Yeah.
and thought he was gonna, But whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but
Yeah.
anyway. Got
Yeah.
anything else?
I got nothing else, man.
All right, man.
I mean, I could talk for hours, but at some point I got to piss, right?
Right. Well, so we'll have to do it again. It was fun.
Cool. Yeah, man. Anytime. Now that I know I can do it on my phone, I can do it anytime, anywhere.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for being on. I had fun.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Yep. We'll sign off then. Actually, one more thing. It says, great show, guys. Had a blast listening this morning. Have to catch more of these. Thanks and have a great day.
Hell yeah.
Then Aaron from Kansas City says, I just got into the hobby and ran across one of your videos and I'm blown away by the quality of your knives. I'm in the process of making my own propane and coal forges and finding traditional ways. Yeah. Awesome, man. Hit me up sometime. I have a bunch of videos on how to do that. But anyway, I think we're going to sign off then.
Cool.
And we'll catch you guys next time.